Hello, and welcome to the Buckeye Learn training of the Health System Financial Reporting Dashboard. Before we begin, I want to provide some points for clarification. First, we'll be demoing the report as of May 2020, and there will be no budget information being displayed. Second, when you access the dashboard, each of you will see the cost centers that you have access to based on the department authorization list. Now, with those points out of the way, let us begin the demonstration. To access the dashboard, you can either search for the Health System Financial Reporting Dashboard, or you can select the icon down here. When you first log into the dashboard, you will find yourself on the Summary tab. This tab, along with all the other tabs of the dashboard, will default to the month that was most recently closed. However, you are able to change this by clicking the Edit button located here. Also, while each tab defaults to all of your cost centers, you are able to filter on specific cost centers if you need to. The Summary tab will provide you with a number of reports that will help you understand the month's activity. The first chart that you will see will be a year-to-date gain and loss by cost center. While the bar chart will only include the top 5 cost centers, the table will provide information on every cost center that you have access to. Each of these values has drill down capabilities, which will be useful in viewing the data in different ways. The Summary tab also includes a chart of FTEs, or full-time equivalents. This chart will provide a high-level view of different labor metrics. As most of this chart is calculations, the drill-down capabilities will be limited on this report. An easy way to determine if the value has drill-down capabilities is if the value is highlighted or if the value is simply black. The remaining reports on the Summary tab are going to be trended reports of different income statement categories. You will see a month-by-month line graph for current year, budget, as well as prior year. These charts will be helpful when assessing whether expected trends are materializing and how the current year is comparing to the prior year. Again, for this demonstration, we are limited to what has been loaded into Workday. As stated before, each of these highlighted values have drill down capabilities. This will be helpful in determining specific cost centers as well as specific spend categories that are driving the detail. Now let's move on to the Performance Report tab. As with the Summary tab, this will default to the most recently closed month, but you are able to change that by selecting this icon here. The first report that you'll find is a performance report summary by account. This report will summarize your combined department's activities. By selecting this icon, you can expand the groupings to view by individual revenue and expense accounts. The reports on this tab will show prior month activity, current month actuals, budget, as well as a variance, prior year activity, year-to-date activity, as well as the annual budget. Moving down, you'll see the same style of report, but this time it will be grouped by cost center. This report will be useful in isolating any variances to individual cost centers. Again, the values highlighted will have the same drill down capabilities that we discussed previously. The final report on this tab is going to be a trended report of high-level revenue and expenses for the fiscal year. This report will be very beneficial when trying to see any outliers in your yearly activity. While it is summarized to begin with, by clicking on these icons, you can expand to a more granular view. Again, since all these values are highlighted, they will have the same drill down capabilities that we previously discussed. Also included on this tab is a link. It's going to be a health system performance report by account detail. You are able to select which cost center you want specifically, or you can default to all of your cost centers, and it will default to the most currently closed month. This report is just an expanded view of your performance report, expanded by account. The Detailed Activity Report tab will show your performance report, but in a summarized view by journal source. As you can see, your ledger account will be on the side, as well as the source of the information, as well as the total amount. You will also notice that there is a report link on the right side of the report. Using this report, you will be able to run individual cost centers that provide line item detail for your report. For the purposes of this demo, we will run this for For the purposes of this demo, we're just going to run this for cost center 99155, but you're able to select any number of cost centers that will be include this rollup. As you can see, here is a line-by-line detail view for your individual cost center performance report, in which you can see your ledger account, the source of the journal, the accounting date, the cost center, the journal source, as well as the pay component, and ultimately the full total journal amount. This will be very important when you're trying to dig into the details of what makes up your individual performance reports. Moving on to the detail activity report, this will show your performance report, but in a summarized view by journal source, with account on the side, journal source in the middle, and total aggregated amount on the end. Moving on to the AP detail tab, this is where you'll go if you want to look at accounts payable detail for your individual cost centers. This report will show the journal, as well as the cost center, the ledger account, the spend category, the purchase order, the invoice number from the supplier's perspective, the date of the invoice, the accounting date for when that was posted, as well as the vendor, quantity, and invoice amount. When looking at the supplier invoice, if you select this button, you're able to see a more granular view, as well as a link to the document. This will be very beneficial when reviewing your expenses that are posted through AP. Again, like with every tab, the AP detail tab will default to the most recently closed month, but you can adjust that as well as adjust the cost centers by selecting this icon over here. Moving on to the Labor Statistics and Payroll Detail tab, this tab will provide more information than the report that we saw in the Summary tab. The first report that we'll see is a more granular view of labor statistics, in which you will be able to see all of your worked hours, your non-worked hours, paid hours, FTE values, as well as work to paid ratios, average hourly rate, overtime hours, overtime dollars, agent, and as well as agency information. As we stated previously, if the value is highlighted, you will be able to have drill down capabilities in which you can narrow it down to specific cost centers, as well as specific directors. Pretty much any way that you want to drill the information, you are able to view it. Also, as a reminder, if the value is black and not highlighted, it's most likely a calculated value, so we will not have drill down capabilities. Moving down, we have a paid FTE chart with agency by cost center, month to date and year to date. This is all calculated values, so again, there will be no drill down capabilities, but you'll very quickly be able to see your paid FTEs by cost center and compare it to both the month to date as well as the year to date budget. The final components of the Labor Statistics and Payroll Detail Report tab are the Payroll Detail Reports, as well as your overtime and over percentage report. Due to the sensitivity of this information, we won't run them for the purposes of this demonstration, but you'll be able to run them for all the cost centers that you have access to, so you can get payroll detail information by employee to help you better understand your payroll expenses. The final tab is going to be our department authorization role reporting. And these are all going to be linked reports that you can run individually. And the purpose of this report is to be able to run performance reports by the different department authorization roles, whether it be senior administrator, director, or contact. So we will very quickly run this report for by senior admin. And as you can see, it looks very similar to some of the reports that we saw in our performance report tab. The only difference is that when you expand on these categories, you are able to see who the senior administrator is. As we discussed earlier, you are able to run those by senior administrator, contact, and director. And this is a good way to take a look at the financials and understand who's ultimately responsible for these individual cost centers. Again, as with all the other reports, any highlighted value has drill down capabilities. For example, I am going to drill down to this prior year activity by account. And then I also, just for the sakes of purpose of this demonstration, will sort it again by contact. So as you can see, we have individual ledger accounts as well as the contact for this department, and ultimately all the detail that rolls up into this 755,000 number. With that being said, this has now concluded the Buckeye Learn training for the Health System Financial Reporting Dashboard. We thank you for your attendance today, and we hope that you receive great benefit from using this new tool. Thank you.